morning, everybody. My name's Whitney. I am a sales rep for RGR Pharma, which we are a medical skincare distributor in Canada. We've been around for 20 years, and we partnered with SkinPen about 4 years ago, which is our medically indicated microneedling device. I'm the rep for Toronto. I'm with my colleague here who's the rep for half of Ontario, Western Ontario. So we're going to go through the presentation. So SkinPen is a Class 2 medical device approved by Health Canada. We also are FDA cleared. We were actually the first FDA cleared microneedling device, which is pretty cool. So others have kind of piggybacked on our research of that. And so we are approved for facial acne scars in adults 22 years and older. In Canada, we're actually indicated for fine lines and wrinkles, surgical scars, and acne scars. And as far as I know, we are the only one that is medically indicated for acne or surgical scars in North America. So we kind of set ourselves apart as we are a medical microneedling treatment as opposed to a cosmetic microneedling treatment. So in Canada, we have acne scars, surgical scars, fine lines, and wrinkles. But across the world, we also have dyschromia and melasma. And it's really, really effective treatment for all of these things. I'm sure some of you have had microneedling in this room, and you're just as addicted as we are to the treatment because it works. So with regards to microneedling, it's a 3-phase process. We start off with creating injury and inflammation in the skin, and we do this nicely with respect to the skin. We're not doing like a Kim K vampire facial type situation. We're not looking for blood. We're just looking for erythema in the skin because we want to get out of that inflammatory stage as quickly as possible to kind of go into the tissue proliferation, get out of that so that we get into the long-term tissue remodeling. I kind of refer to this as the Benjamin Button. I feel like it honestly reverses aging in the skin. Day 8 for me, if any of you know me, you know it's the day 8 glow, where you actually see that new collagen come in. You wake up and you literally look younger. So going beyond the scars that we're treating, you look younger and better, and it's very, very addictive. So using it in your practice to treat, let's say, surgical scarring is great, but the added benefit is that you really look younger. It's like that trifecta of anti-aging with our toxins and our fillers and this. It kind of gets the other lines that you can't really get with filler. And I look at it kind of as a wrinkle eraser, tried and proven on myself. But this tissue remodeling stage can take place for 3 weeks to up to 1 year after treatment. So it's not a short-term fix. As time goes on, you're still kind of aging in reverse, which is awesome. So again, we're going into the inflammatory stage really, really quickly and respectfully to the skin. We're not overly damaging the skin because, as we all know, issues always arise with inflammation. So we don't want to stay there long. Your downtime is about 24 to 48 hours. Typically, the worst part of the treatment is within the first 4 hours. You're hot, you're red. I feel like I fell into an oven on broil. Then you kind of get over it. Day 2, you kind of look like you've done a hot yoga class. You're red. Ideally, you're not covering that up with makeup, but if you have to, the world will not end. And then we go into the remodeling stage, which is the most important phase. And during this is the opportunity for skincare. Ideally, the clients are using high quality pharmaceutical grade skincare and feeding the skin at this stage in order to maximize the results. So looking at the SkinPen, it kind of looks and feels like an electric toothbrush for perspective on like how it feels in your hand, how it sounds. It's ergonomic. They had made a couple models actually when they were first creating it, and they tested that to see what was the most comfortable in your hand. So it's a really lightweight, easy treatment to do. It's cordless with a lithium battery, so think Tesla, and it kind of operates like an iPhone. It's full power until it dies, and just don't let it die. If you keep it on the charger between treatments, you'll never lose power. There's intuitive speed control. It's ultrasonically sealed. The treatment tip is kind of where everything is housed for the device. So we got the power from the actual device of the skin pen, but everything is really held in that cartridge. We have 7,000 revolutions per minute. You're doing about 98,000 microchannels per minute. So it's a lot. It's very, very fast and very, very comfortable. I always say that it's nap time when you get the treatment, unless we're treating really deep scars where we go higher up, it's very, very comfortable. A lot of my clients will say that microdermabrasion hurts more than this. Even when it comes to numbing, for more perspective, we recommend just using a 5% lidocaine. So we're not doing a 20 or a 30%. It's really, really not necessary because it's very, very comfortable. And I've even done clients without numbing cream, which is not something I would recommend, but it has been done and can be done. So this is our cartridge. As you can see, kind of where it says internal reciprocating mechanism, that is 100% sealed. So there is absolutely zero chance of any sort of cross-contamination of anything getting through. We have our 14 stainless steel needles. They go in and out of the skin at the same speed, so it's not like an elastic band. It doesn't snap back. It goes in and out at the same speed, and it reciprocates. So there's no risk of suction or broken capillaries, because I get that question a lot, not happening. And absolutely zero chance of any fluids being pulled into the device. And we've done clinical studies on all of the things, so it's backed up. They literally put it in a petri dish with 4 billion bacteria, and not one bacteria got through. So it is absolutely safe, and I think our goal is always to be able to sleep at night, and if you're using skin pen, you absolutely can, because you will have no worries. We do the depth control on the actual treatment tip, which you can do while the skin pen is on. You don't have to turn it off. It's very, very easy to maneuver while you're doing treatment and adjust, because say we're treating melasma, we want to be at a depth of a 0.25, maximum 0.5. But if we're treating an acne scar or a surgical scar, we want to be between a 1 and a 1.5. So you can adjust as you're doing the skin and completely customize it to the client. There's this lure lock that once you put the tip onto the device, it activates this lockout feature, so it cannot be reused, and that is for the safety of your business and for your clients. So that's an important part of it. I think that's amazing, because you never have to worry, because I know some companies you can reuse. And then we sell our tips in a kit. We have 2 different kits in Canada. The 3-piece kit comes with the treatment tip with the depth going 0.25 to a 2.5. The 1.5 to 2.5 is meant if you're treating, like, let's say, a C-section scar or something like that on the body. It's not meant for the face. We have the lift, which is our glide. This is an actual medical device in itself. It's the only FDA approved and cleared glide for microneedling for open skin. So we use that during treatment. Whether you're using PRP or not, there's different ways that you can use it. It's just a thick water. It's just a hydrogel. And the client will go home with that to use as needed day 1. Because again, we want to ensure the safety of the client and their skin, and they're not going home and putting on whatever is under their sink. We are trying to avoid any issues. And if they follow this, there won't be any issues. And then we have a biosheath, which is what protects the device. And then our 4-piece kit comes with something called Rescue, which is a calming complex, a calming gel for the client to use as needed day 2. So it's kind of foolproof. The client goes home, they use what you tell them to use. They're not putting anything else on their skin. And then day 3 post-treatment is really when you want to nourish the skin with high-quality products. They're coming in to have these treatments. We don't want them going to Shoppers Drug Mart. We want them buying from you. But this is just, an anti-inflammatory to get them out of that stage as quickly as possible. So then day 3 is when you go back to having completely normal routine. So this is what the skin looks like. So intact skin right before treatment, immediately following, you can see the microchannels, but within immediately after to 4 hours, you can see how much that dissipates. So it's really those first 4 hours that are the hottest. It's not brutal. It's not compared to laser treatments or things like that. You're hot and you're red. And then from 4 to 10, it's about the same. And then from 10 to 24, as you can see, the skin is basically healed back to normal. So it's very, very quick, which is great because especially after what we've all been through the last couple years, I don't think we really have patients that are going to want to spend a week inside looking scary. You literally could go to work the next day, and depending on the skin, you might not even have any resemblance that you just had a treatment done. You're doing 3 to 6 treatments every 4 weeks. 3 is more for rejuvenation if you're treating kind of fine lines, things like that. But if you're treating more extreme surgical scars, acne scars, deep wrinkles, melasma, you really want to be about 6 treatments. And at that point, you'll reassess to see if they need more. And this is really what you look like. So the redness after treatment, it's like you finished a hot spin class, but it really starts to dissipate after the 4 hours, and 24 hours you're back to normal. And then they should have like another picture there of day 8 when your skin is just glowing because it's so good. So when we have those kits, we want you to follow the kit, because when we start microneedling serums into the skin, that's where problems happen. So the odd time if I ever do hear of a reaction, I ask, what did you put on the skin? Because I know if you're using our lift, there won't be any issues. And this is an example of what can happen. Granulomas can happen. We see bacterial reactions, especially if they're putting cosmetic on the skin immediately after when the microchannels are still open. It's not worth the risk. Outside of PRP, my opinion is just keep it to the lift or PRP and kind of keep it there. What really matters is what you're using on day 3 to get the renewal of those cells, not really what you're microneedling into the skin. It's not worth it. So here are some before and afters. This is a female patient after 3 treatments treating acne scars, which is pretty crazy that in 3 months that you can get that kind of result. So imagine if you're adding subcision or things like that into the treatment as well. The results will be even better. But there's your before and after. And when they're doing these studies, like for her skin, I would be recommending a minimum of 6 treatments. I wouldn't be saying 3, but I understand, got to go easy sometimes, especially with budget. But even 6 months post-treatment, she's still super happy with her skin. And then this is after 6 treatments. Like, that's a very, very happy client. And imagine if you're then bringing in to pharmaceutical-grade skincare to really maximize those results. I'm a big fan of alternating every 2 weeks with a peel. It's amazing. That's my self-created routine. But 90% of the subjects said at the 1 month and the 6 months treatment that they would recommend. So I'm sure you guys have had clients asking if you're not offering this service in your business, asking for the treatment, because it really works and people talk about it because they want it. So subjects reporting improvement in acne scar appearance, 1 month later 80%, but 6 months later 90%. So really that collagen is coming in 6 to 12 months after the last treatment. So you could have them come in for a pick-me-up once a year if you wanted to. What I find is that you get so addicted to how great your skin looks that you want to be coming regularly. So is it every quarter? Are we doing a 0.25 every 4 weeks like we would be doing skin treatments and peels, things like that? There's a lot of options of how you can do this, and depending on what you're treating for that client. In terms of downtime, it's very, very minimal. I find summer is really not bad in comparison to winter. Winter, depending on the skin of the client, if you're going in with super dehydrated, dry skin, you're gonna be flakier, but in the summer, it's really not too bad. So 12% of the subjects noticed dryness for days 1 to 6. It's not like you're peeling off, it's just a little bit of a flakiness, a tightness to the skin. Rough skin, tightness, 1 to 2 days. Sometimes they can start around day 3, depending on the client. Redness, itching, peeling, discomfort, and tenderness. Really, it's day 1, day 2. The odd patient will still feel it day 3, and that's really if they're like a Fitzpatrick 1 and really, really, really sensitive, or if they're not using high quality skincare, never do peels, things like that. And then the burning 1 to 3, 9%, worse in the summer when, like last summer when it was 40 degrees a day, yeah, you'd feel that for a day or 2 afterwards. So SkinPen has 90 validation studies on the device, which is unheard of when it comes to microneedling. On average, they do 1, 2, a few studies. We've done 90 in 2 clinical trials, and it's always ongoing. So Crown itself, or SkinPen, is willing to partner with businesses too. If you want to create a trial, they will work with you with that. But we've done things like clinically proven safe and effective, the accurate depth setting, which is super important. So if we say we're at a 1, we're at a 1. And if you're comparing to other devices, there can be quite a difference with the depth. So this way you know that it's going to always be a consistent treatment, especially if you have a bunch of your estheticians, nurses doing the same treatment in your business. You want to ensure that it's consistent, and we can guarantee that. Protects the patients and delivers clinically proven results. It works. End of story. If anybody's had it here, you know it works. And it does so respectfully to the skin, which I think is the most important. You don't have to kind of go through trauma to get to the end to get good skin. You get it within a couple of days. What else do I need to point out there? Tested and validated to prevent risk of cross-contamination, which I think is, again, very, 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 very important. So we've done things like the needle durability, performs consistently across extreme skin thickness. So the pen itself will adjust depending on where you are doing it, or the client's skin, because some obviously have thicker skin, some have a lot thinner skin. It's not like you have to adjust how you hold the device. You don't have to jam it into the skin if they're doing a butt, versus going lightly on a forehead. You don't have to adjust. It adjusts for you. So as long as we're taught to the skin, that's all that matters. You'll get the accurate depth. It will perform at the specific depth deemed safe for patients. We work with you to ensure that you know what depth you should be doing where, at least giving you a range depending on the patient and what you're treating, and that the needles will perform consistently across extreme skin thickness. In one of the studies, they were hitting a baseball for hours and it wasn't dulling the needles. So if you were doing an entire body, you wouldn't have to worry about swapping out the treatment tip. You can do the entire body. This is a visual of what our needle looks like on the left. It's perfectly straight, so think acupuncture. And because of the highest quality of this needle, that's really why it's so comfortable for the patient, because it's acupuncture, right? You don't really feel it. It's in and out, easy peasy. A lot of other devices tend to have this hooked needle. That's the most common thing. I always hear the feedback from my clients that are switching over is that it's so speedy and quick and smooth because you're not fighting the pull of the hooked needle. So the patient feels that. You can do a face in 10 minutes, which is pretty cool. So it's an in and out treatment, and it's not kind of scraping and ripping the skin apart. The scary one on the far right, think Dr. Pen, think the unapproved devices and those terrifying Instagram ads where people can buy them to do it at home. That's what it looks like. That's what they're doing to the skin. That is not respecting the skin. You can have scarring. There's a lot of bacterial issues and things that you can have out of that. Disgusting. So they have no fluid transfer was observed. As I said, we put it in a petri dish with billions of bacteria. Not one single bacteria got through. So you will never have to worry about that case that happened pre-COVID in New Mexico, if we remember, with HIV. You'll never have to worry about anything like that. Using the sanding cloth, wipes effectively removes the contaminated bacteria. We do have the biosheath that is covering the device, but after you've done the treatment, obviously you want to wipe it down. But you'll never have to worry about fluids even being suctioned into the actual device. No fluid through the sheath, so the sheath that protects the device, it's not getting through that. So even when the needles are at their most extreme, so the 2.5 depth, again, that's meant literally for the thickest part of the body. If you're treating scars, they're deemed to be safe even at that depth. I have nurses that have gone to 2.5 on the face. I will never ever recommend that. I think less is more and more is too much, but your business, your choice. And still no issues. It just meant another day or two of downtime. And we get about 2,000 hours or more out of the skin pen, which is a lot of treatments when you think about a 10-minute for the face. So I'll show you some before and afters. This is, I think, like at least more with me, is the most kind of common that we're seeing is just you're looking for just some obvious improvement, the Benjamin button. Getting those fine lines and wrinkles that you can't get with filler or with toxins, and this is after 3 treatments. I always say to under-promise, over-deliver, but honestly, like more times than not, I see unbelievable results after 1 treatment. It's always fun when I have models that are like, my skin's great, I don't need this treatment, and then 2 weeks later they're texting me like, oh my God, I look so good. You will hear that over and over again. This is so impressive. So this is 9 months after the patient doing 5 treatments. So imagine again, if you're adding in other treatments, peels, skincare, physical SPF on the regular, which he needs. Impressive. And then that is after 6 procedures. So at this point, I would have the client take a break, and then I would reassess, and maybe in a couple months, 6 months, 12 months, I would do another series with her skin. But that is huge, huge improvement after 6 treatments. So 6 months. That's after 2. Again, super, super impressive. And that's after 1. So this isn't something that I would show your patients, because again, if they don't look like that after 1 treatment, you're to blame. We know how they work. But you do see quite a difference after 1 treatment, and that's a really prime example of the kind of difference that you can see. And 2 treatments. So I always think about it like my biggest result was my upper lip. I was a smoker for 20 years, and I turned 35 and had resting deep smoker's line, had a panic attack, quit smoking, but they were there. And I obviously do Botox and filler, but the skin pen literally erased my lines on my upper lip. Gone. So it really saved my mental state. And then this is after 5 treatments. 3 treatments. It's a really easy thing to incorporate into your business, because who doesn't want to look like that after 3 months? And then you're not limited to the face. As I've said, you can do any parts of the body. So hands are a really popular one, especially in older clients, because as we know, those show the age, the hands, the neck, the décolleté, things like that. And that is, does it even say? 2 procedures. So how does this kind of fit into your business? First of all, know that it's for all Fitzpatrick. So we're not limited to 1 or 6. We can do everybody, and we can do all times of the year. It's because it's a mechanical device. It's not at risk with summer. It's not one of those treatments that you have to stop doing in the summer. It's actually something you should be introducing in the summer. And it's a gateway to other treatments. You probably have patients that want Botox, but they don't want it. They don't want to start with it, or they want to kind of wean off of it and do something more, I hate the word, but organic. This is a more organic approach to that. And it's not a huge commitment. Again, it's not a big downtime commitment. So it's super easy to do. You're not saying you're going to look like Samantha from Sex and the City and scare children. People really won't know. Patients that are not a candidate for heat-based treatments, or, melasma, or ones that are at risk of getting it, because I've seen that happen with more of the laser treatments. It's cost effective. In Toronto, in my territory, we're looking between $400 and $500 per treatment just for the face. Outside Toronto, I know Lisa's territory is around $350. And that's just for the face. So it's a good moneymaker for 45 minutes of work and a really happy patient. And again, it's for patients with no time for downtime, which is literally like everybody right now after what we've been through. And that is it. So if anybody has any questions. Thanks.
So there is one question here, and it's marked down. How many sessions needed for melasma, and how much, and what's the chance of hyperpigmentation? Thanks.
So there's no chance of hyperpigmentation from the treatment, but what is essential is that the client is using physical sunscreen after the treatment. Day one, I don't put anything on the skin. We've all gone a day in our lives without sunscreen, like nothing bad's gonna happen. Enjoy the break of not even having to wash your face when you go to bed. But day two, I want it to be physical only. I do not want any sort of chemical-based sunscreens. That's where the issues kind of tend to rise, as we all know that chemical really needs to be banned from the world. But adding that heat when the skin's hot, attracting the sun, not a good idea. But yeah, there's not really any risk of that.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Who here uses microneedling in their business? Who here has tried microneedling on themselves? Right? How many times is it that you've brought or introduced microneedling to your practice or described it to your client and they had like an aha moment, like, oh yeah, I didn't know it could do that. Microneedling is one of those things that in my practice, I use it to sell my products, actually. I use it to tell them the benefits of what can happen to the skin without having to wait 6 to 9 months before anything happens, right? So when we're trying to sell all our skincare that we have on our shelves, and I'm hoping to sell that because otherwise it's coming out of my pocket, I have faith in those products, but I don't know. Before having microneedling into my practice, I didn't know how to sell it without sounding like I'm selling it. And what I would do is I would do my full facial evaluation, and then I'd come down to it and I'd say, the problem with skincare is that you spend $200-300 on it and then you stop using it because you don't see the difference, right? And they all agree, every single one of them. Yep, absolutely. I don't really know when it's supposed to happen, what I'm supposed to see. So you break down why they're buying it, what it's supposed to do, and you let them know there's a long-term game. Look at your SPF. It's going to take 10 years, right? You're not putting on SPF today and you're going to see an effect tomorrow. You're going to compare it to 10 years down the road to one of your friends who's not using SPF. Retinol, same thing. It's a 6 to 9 month game with the best stuff. And with microneedling, what I let them know is basically if you do 3 sessions, 2 weeks apart, 0, 2, and 2, in a month you're going to get the same effect or similar effects from 6 to 9 months use of your skincare broken down into 1 month. And it always happens. Every single client that I have when I do microneedling, they love it. They get that skin glow, and on top of that, I reassure them that after they're doing this, we're creating channels into the skin. Their products are going to be penetrating deeper, they're going to have a better effect, and then after that, they can do it once a season afterwards just to keep it going. That's the aha moment. That's whenever I get to sell my products. That's whenever I get to, sell them into believing into microneedling, and once they do it, they're a believer. But it's just taking that initiative to let them know what the benefits are, how it works, and they will for sure buy your products, and they will continue buying your product instead of buying it once and then kind of forgetting about it and maybe trying it 5 years down the road. I'm a big advocate for microneedling, and it was a great presentation. Thank you.
Works.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, ask away.
I do both. Okay, so it glides perfectly across the skin using the lift. If you wanted to use PRP instead of the lift, you can absolutely do that, or you can do lift, do the 3 passes, and then apply the PRP. You have options to do whatever you want, but what I do is we do like the whole face. I'll do section by section, 3 passes. So we'll go across, we'll go up and down, and we'll do circles, and we'll move on. After that, I go back to the problem areas and I stamp it. So you don't need glide for that, but I make it bleed. Depends what I'm treating. So if I was treating deeper lines, yeah. So maybe I'm doing the client at a 0.5 because that's where I'm seeing erythema. When I go back to their areas of concern, I'll probably, if I was treating the scars, I'd go up to a 1, 1.5, depending on the skin. Yeah, and I make it bleed.
And I don't be afraid as well. I think sometimes people forget about microneedling as actually a moneymaker. Like you can definitely make this a moneymaker because they compare it to botulism toxin, they compare it to fillers. You can have multiple, but really, you're paying for the tips. Like the pen is not expensive, the tips are not expensive. If you're doing with PRP, then you'd have to pay for the tubes. So that's about it. But basically, what I do is I charge basically around that $450, $550, depending.
Yeah.
But I do the top up and I let them know, hey, by the way, for an additional, you can do whatever, $100 to $150, you include the neck and décolleté. And it's like, oh, only an extra $100. It costs you nothing. You still have like the PRP left over and you can market it that way. And it's a great seller. I'm a big advocate for it, so thank you very much.
That's what I do too. Value added.
Yep.
How much do you charge per session, per visit?
It depends on your location. In Toronto, we're between $400 and $500 just straight microneedling for the face. I say $200 for each additional 5 minutes, right? Because if you're treating, I don't know, stretch marks, it depends how big the area is. But I say your starting point is between $400 and $500. And I would always say if you were treating the hands or they wanted to come in for the neck, we can add that on when you're doing the face. I wouldn't just treat a neck or just treat the hands. That's not worth your time.
How many sessions for the husband?
It depends. We can start between 3 and 6 and then reassess, yeah.